For more on this, we're now joined by the Black Business Council CEO, Kganki Matabane, and he joins us now via our video link. Kganki, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, let's start off here. As WEF wraps up, what do you make of South Africa's Team SA, that went over there to go and sell the country? What are your biggest takeaways from this year's session?
Good evening, Valerie. Good evening to the SABC News viewers. And as far as we are concerned, South Africa did put the best foot forward. You may have watched the president's speech, and the president was emphasizing the fact that this year, for the first time in the history of G20, Africa, through South Africa, is hosting a very important event, G20. And after that, South Africa will be heading over to the USA, which is very, very interesting, as you may have witnessed the inauguration of President Trump and the things that he has said and already done. So the South Africa did their best, and the fact that we have seen some improvement in certain interventions. For example, while the delegation was in WEF, we were celebrating, I know it's not something to celebrate under normal circumstances, but we were celebrating 300 days of no load shedding.
Yeah, and I was coming there, Kganki, and talking about in the past when South Africa would go to WEF, one of the biggest issues was the issue around electricity supply and energy security in the country. This, I'm sure, formed a big part of why now it seems as if, while the president says it was a successful tour, because this time around they were able to ensure their investors that look, now it seems as if energy supply in the country seems to be well on track.
Yes, especially when you're talking to people and encouraging them to invest in the productive economy, manufacturing, localization, mining, beneficiation. You can't do those areas. You can't invest in those areas without a reliable and affordable electricity supply. So we should continue, by all means, we should continue to congratulate the excellent, competent leadership of ESCOM, led by Tetonyati, Ben Marugana, and encourage them to do more, so that in the future we don't even have to talk about load shedding, because it's happening in other countries. They've never experienced this, and they are probably surprised what we're talking about and celebrating. But we're celebrating because we know the pain of where we come from. We have lost a lot of companies, we have lost a lot of jobs, and we're saying this must never happen again. And that is a story that is sellable. When you go out there to the world and say, we were here, we are now here, and the world can now start to believe South Africa, that South Africa is going back to its basics, where it was able to resolve problems. But also it's important that as we are hosting the B20 this year, so the G20 and the B20, we need to make it an African G20. It should not only be an African G20 by name. And I was impressed by what the president was saying, that this is for the first time happening in Africa, not only in South Africa. So it is very, very important that we need to incorporate and embrace all the people, business people, leaders, political leaders in the continent, so that they must feel like this is their G20. And then again, following the previous person you're interviewing, we need to find a way how to incorporate local communities, include them in feeling like they are part of the big events that we're having, like the G20, like they did have it at WEF. So I think our delegation have done a great job it's now time for us to say we're hosting a big event.
All right.
Probably.
And Kganki, of course, I mean, you are touching a lot on the fact that South Africa will be holding that G20 summit much later on this year. But at the same time, you highlight the importance of South Africa's presence at the World Economic Forum this year, being a very important year for the country. But at the same time, we went to this World Economic Forum for the first time under a government of national unity. What does that mean for investment now, seeing this political stability in our country, but under government of national unity for investors?
Yeah, it's very, very important that we take advantage of the positive sentiments that were brought by the GNU. So that it does not feel like what happened to Ramaphoria. Ramaphoria came and went, and we didn't take advantage of it. So it's very, very important that we take advantage of that and showcase to the world that it's possible to have a change of political leadership, and still still manage to have economic stability. And I think that is a very, very important a message that we can still work together.
Yeah,
in the interest of South Africa.
Yeah, and talking about working together, right? The president also touching on the issue around a global cooperation, and in a time where the world over is facing basically the same issues, facing issues around climate change, facing issues around pandemic, and also now moving to the likes of artificial intelligence. How do you characterize the president's message there, calling for global cooperation?
I think that the president's message was courageous, and I'm saying courageous mainly because it just followed the inauguration of President Trump and what President Trump did. You've seen he has withdrawn from major corporations that are, for example, dealing with climate change. So it was very important for the President Ramaphosa to basically emphasize that climate change is very, very important. We should not go back to where we were. We should move forward with the plans that we have. But again, it's important, and we've always been emphasized this, that the just transition must really be just to South Africa, must really be just to Africa. It should not be done at the expense of our interest as a country.
Right.
It must always take must always take into account our interest and make sure that we still remain with the jobs that we have, and we create even more jobs to reduce unemployment that we have.
All right, Kganki, thank you so much for your contribution and your time. That is Kganki Matabane. He's the CEO of the Black Business Council. They're just giving us his reaction as the Black Business Council and what they made of Team South Africa, the delegation that was sent to the World Economic Forum.